Uh, in interest in time, for those who have joined us, we'll go ahead and we'll start our discussion for today. And but before we begin the webinar, I want to address a critical issue, and I have a question, which is a relation with our planet. We're witnessing a huge impact on human activities on Earth's ecosystem. So how do we ensure a sustainable future? Today, while there's a set of people, set of engineers, those who are working towards uh, interstellar travel, terraforming another planets, but is there anything that we can do today to save the future and save tomorrow and for our upcoming generation? Well, the answer is yes. And uh, we have policies in place. So the better it's, and the more we are aware about these policies, we can safeguard our own interest as a PIBO status. But before we deep dive into the conversation for today, we'll quickly go ahead and take you through what ReCircle is, who we are, what we do, and then take it forward. So, uh, so ReCircle is a B2B clean tech organization and enabling business to take action to stop plastic pollution and sustainable development goals. Business can offset the plastic footprint by introducing ethical recycled plastic into the supply chain and by doing their compliances through their EPR, so for the EPR requirement. So moving on to the next slide. We are into the business for last 7 years, and we have impacted more than 270 cities, towns, and villages by ensuring 1 lakh metric ton of waste diversion from landfills and water bodies through our Safai Sathis, with a count of 3,100 plus Safai Sathis. We are currently working with 400 plus recycle partners and 45 plus waste processor partners. And the impact we are creating is just not economical, but also environmental and social through our digital innovation. Some of our solutions are extended producer responsibility, that where we are helping our business partners from end to end by ensuring their end-to-end compliances, plastic neutral program, where voluntarily business can offset their plastic footprint and ensure the sustainable impact. Also, we help businesses to host their zero waste events, and we are also working towards how we can ensure ethical recycled plastic can be brought back to the ecosystem through the entire supply chain. Moving on to the next slide. Really proud to share we are backed by Flipkart Ventures, Acumen Partner, and 3i Partners for supporting our initiative with some of the big name in grant funders like GSMA, UNDP, HUL, and Alliance to End Plastic Waste. Moving on to the next slide. These are some of our clients. So we are currently working with Dabur, Nestle, HUL, Tata Starbucks, HCCV, UNDP, Delec, Mondelez, and also for our volunteer credits, we have got some homegrown brands: Kiro Beauty, Neemly, Summer Somewhere, Oradoro, Neutraleaf, Metro, and Natch. So now that we have given you a quick run through to ReCircle, we would also want to understand that about our audience. So we'll quickly run through a poll that will come onto your screen to understand which part of the country you're from. You can quickly cast your vote and help us understand through which audience we are talking to. I think while most of you are voting, it's interesting to see right now people from north have joined us the most, followed by west, south, and east. So people from East India, make some noise, get your vote casted so that uh, we can move forward. So around 70% of the audience have casted their vote. Uh, Waiting for the balance audience to quickly share and participate in the voting. So yep, here we have the so most voted is from north. I think the majority of the audience have come today from the northern part of India. So we'll quickly publish the result for everyone to see where the result of the poll. So moving on to the next part. So my name is Ayush, and I've joined here with my co-host Amit. We extend a warm welcome to our webinar on unlocking sustainability through compliance and action. Now let's deep dive into the environmental compensation in the plastic waste management EPR. So I hand it over to Amit. The mic is all yours.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining this webinar on sustainability through compliance and action. So, as the topic, our webinar topic is just that compliance through action. So, I suggest now we are speaking about compliances, APR, and all about. So, now it's a high time we start doing actions around it. So, let's begin with the fundamental, Ayush. Can you tell our audience about EC in APR?
So I think Amit, that's a great question to begin with. The basics of the basic what EC is. So EC is essentially the full form of the EC is environmental compensation. Uh, it is basically financial penalties for the stakeholders, those who shortfall and do default in meeting their EPR compliances.
That's true, Ayush. I mean, but when exactly this EC is lived with the business?
So essentially, Amit, the ECs are laid in two scenarios. One, when the PIBO or when the either the target is shortfall or you're found non-compliant during the audit for non-compliance or of the EPR policy.
I mean, shortfall of the targets and getting registered is most important thing. Okay, so interesting, Ayush. I mean, who is responsible for this EC then?
Essentially, EVs are laid on two stakeholders. The majority one is PIBO, which are your producer, importer, brand owner. Those are responsible for recycling the plastic produce, and PWPs, which are plastic waste processors. Those are responsible for ensuring of the recycling that is happening as per the rules of EPR plastic waste management.
Those were insightful points. We should also know what happens if someone, violates those rules.
So, Amit, great question again. So essentially, uh, in this case, you're so there's severe consequences that can happen. Besides, there could be penalties that can be levied. There could be severe consequences like cancel of putting the unit on hold, uh, product seizure, and cancel of the licenses and fine based on the violation severity and environmental impact.
So, Ayush, Could you shed some light on how easy, someone can avoid this easy?
Sure, Amit. So basically, your EPR compliance is basically divided into three stages, where the first stage is your EPR registration on the centralized portal. The second is your operation in terms of fulfilling your target. And third is annual return filing. And that's where we come into play, where we can take care of your end-to-end responsibility for EPR compliance, ensuring you complete support from registration to your annual return filing.
And that seems like a comprehensive approach. I mean, what's current penalty rate for EC?
So it depends upon the specific violations as per the provision, and also the impact through that non-compliance. So CPCB guidelines suggest a base rate of 5,000 rupees per ton for non-compliance uh, of on unprocessing plastic waste. This rate can also based on the severity of the violation and potential environmental impact, as I said.
Okay.
So uh, while these are some of the basic question, would also now would like to interact with the audience and understand with another poll that are you a producer, importer, manufacturer, or a recycler? So there would be a poll that will come onto your screen now. So would really love if you guys can quickly cast your vote and help us understand if you're a producer, importer, brand owner, or a manufacturer along with yeah. That's great. So I think we have a lot of brand owners, those who have joined us today. Uh, Great. So now, so thank you everyone for sharing and casting your votes. Uh, Now, let's deep dive into some critical question in respect of the business. So, Amit, can you help us and understand how? So, for example, if EC is levied on anyone and someone has received a particular notice, and the brand owner or a producer is into disagreement, is there any way that one can challenge it, and one can? Is there any legal provision that is given by the rules, and one can raise his concern to in a particular way?
Absolutely, Aisha. I mean, there are many situations where you yourself found disagreeing with the EC assessment. So there is a structured part to challenge it. Initially, you need to submit a written representation to the CPCB within 30 days of your receiving of your notice. Also, in that case, then the CPCB will then review your concern. They might modify or withdraw your assessment as well. Now, again, if you again remain unsatisfied, then there is a next step. You can go to National Tribunal, National Grid Tribunal, and appeal over there for a fair resolution. So, yes, there are ways you can, challenge your EC assessment.
Understood. So, to sum up it for our audience, it is first notifying it to the concerned pollution control board within 30 days. If there's a resolution, well and good. If you still having disagreement, then probably raising your
Yes,
concern to
definitely.
National Green Tribunal. Understood. That sounds. I mean, it's a comprehensive process. But here's my next question to you, Amit. Where what if business fails to pay the EC? What are the consequences then?
I must say the consequences are quite severe. So I always say the people like, avoid the EC at first place. But again, as I said, consequences are quite severe. If you not pay EC within the time frame, required time frame, then it could lead to a legal action by CPCB to recover the due amount. And again, furthermore, it could goes very difficult in obtaining the clearances and the licenses. Also, not to mention potential damage to your company's reputation and brand image. So that's the worst thing to think about.
I think you kept a very very valid point it do create damages to your company reputation and brand image. But I think more than that, it is something which is unnecessary headache to the business owners. So very well put in there. So my next question to you is, could there be a charges? So for example, now let's say I, as a brand owner, uh, paid the penalties, but what I heard was there was some interest that is also applicable on these ECs. Could you throw in some more light in over there?
course. I mean, there are, so many people think about that we received EC and we have paid, the due amount within 1 month. But it's not like that. Though you paid within 1 month, the original amount will be due. Plus, there will be an interest of 12% per annum for the days delayed after stipulated date amount deposition, which so many people forget about it. Okay. And after from 1 month to within 3 months, the interest rate escalates to 24% annum per annum. I mean, that's a huge interest rate. And beyond 3 months, the consequences becomes more drastic, including closure of your unit, facility, seizure your trade documents, and not and most important thing, the action can be taken under the Environment Protection Act 1986 and the local bodies, which is, a really difficult situation for the brand owners, for the producers and importers to go through such things.
Understood. So and what happens if the shortfall is addressed within 3 years?
So that's relief, little relief, for the PIBOs. Since we are running business, so there might be a chances where we fall shortfall for the EPR targets. So there is an intense incentive for addressing shortfalls. If you shortfall is rectified within 1 year, then 75% of the EC can be returned. Okay, within 2 years, the 60% will be returned, and within 3 years, the 40% will be returned. So this encourage business also to take corrective actions also.
Understood. Yeah, makes sense. So there's at least there's some sort of relief for catching up. And so I also remember there was a provision where there's specific thickness requirement which is given by CPCB. What are the repercussions if those thickness in manufacturing carry bags are not met?
Thank you, Ash, for asking this because I wanted to mention this point with you. I wanted to discuss with audience as well. For the carry bags manufacturer, those who are not, meeting the required thickness of 75 microns since September 2021 and 120 microns since December 2022, which includes, please note everyone, penalty includes seizure of your products, closure of your unit, and also there is an EC limit at 5,000 per ton of plastic bags manufactured, and which escalates to 10,000 for a second violation and 20,000 for a third violation. So it's very important for the carry bags manufacturer to maintain those thicknesses.
Yeah, I think that's a crucial piece of information. Thank you for sharing that with us, Amit. And also, there was a ban for using plastic for manufacturer of gutka, tobacco, and pan masala. Can you throw in some light on that topic too?
I mean, those penalties are for the carry bags manufacturer is similar with those who are using plastic material for packaging of gutka, tobacco, or pan masala. They have the same penalties, including your product seizure or your unit closure. Also, they have a EC starts from 5,000 per ton of loose. So it's the same for plastic carry bags manufacturer and for the the packaging material used in gutka, tobacco, and pan masala.
Okay. And so I think, I mean, yeah, that's a that I mean, you've summarized it in a very conducive and understanding way for our audience. So my next question is, what penalties exist for manufacturer operating without registration? Because as we discussed earlier, the first step for the compliance is to ensure there is a registration with the concerned pollution control board. So how's that gets affected in terms of EC?
So as I always said, getting registered is the first step towards compliance. As our topic says, compliance through action. So it's the first step, it's the first action towards compliance, getting registered. So getting not to get registered leads to unit closure
Okay.
and is your 2500 per ton of plastic raw material you're manufacturing. So that amount again will increase with each violation. So it's a serious thing. It's a very severe consequences if you are not getting registered on the SPCB or the CPCB.
Understood.
So I mean now it's a time for another poll question for the audience. I mean if they can cast their vote. Um, I mean, are you doing your compliances by yourself or you're outsourcing it? So, I mean, we have a result. It seems we have a mixed audience today. Uh, yeah. So moving ahead, I mean, it's very clear that compliances with environmental regulation is not only a legal obligations, but
Mhm.
also it's very crucial for maintaining business operational integrity and brand reputations. So, Aish, can you tell our audience, are there any penalties if raw material is sold to producer without, CPCB EPR registration?
Right. Amit, I think that's a great question. It's very crucial for manufacturers to understand that the regulations are very clear. No manufacturer can sell or provide or arrange plastic to use as a raw material to producer who do not have a valid registration from a valid state pollution control board. If this rule is breached, environmental compensation is levied at 2,500 per ton for the raw material sold to unregistered producer. This fee can escalate with a multiple violation reaching to 5,000 rupees per ton for second violation and 10,000 rupees per ton for third violation. So this can also lead to the closure of the units thereafter. So it's a very crucial to ensure that uh, while CPCB is now trying to build the entire ecosystem of tracking the plastic waste and recycling, so now producer and manufacturers needs to get the registration done.
And that's a steep price for non-compliances. So, speaking of penalties, what EC applies to, if PIBO's shortfall of their EPR targets?
So there's a principle called as polluter pay, which gets applied over here. So for any shortfall in recycling, end of life recycling, or mandatory use of recycling plastic, which is now going to be a major component of your compliances starting from the next year, the initial EC is 5,000 rupees per ton. The penalty doubles to 10,000 rupees per ton for the second violation and quadruples to whopping 20,000 rupees per ton for third violation. uh, Also, it is important to understand the obligation can be forwarded for next 3 years. This offers a gray period to meet the target and probably avoid these penalties and the charges.
It seems there are some leniency with the possibility to catch up. I mean, this is what about the shortfall of EPR targets? What if PIBOs unable to file their EPR annual returns by the deadline?
Okay. So again, very interesting question. The consequences begin with a notice issued for 5 days. The return are still out. If the return is still outstanding, a fine of 5,000 rupees is imposed for the next 5 days. So, for example, if the notice issued today, you can finish your annual return filing for in next 5 days. Uh, and then there's again a second grade. There is another window which is open for next 10 days with a penalty provision of 10,000 rupees if the PIBO or PWP is still missed on filing their annual returns. The annual return filing happens automatically on the portal, and if there are any shortfall that is encountered or noticed, the EC will get applicable accordingly on the shortfall.
Okay, that sounds like a tight schedule. I mean, each 5 days, its amount getting doubled. So it's about PIBOs. Then what about the PWPs?
So the process is more or less the same. The total window of 15 days. The first 5 days of 5,000 rupees penalty, the next 10 days of 10,000 rupees of penalty. But in case of PWP, they won't be able to generate credit certificates till the compliance till the issue till the compliance is cleared.
You mean to say if PWP is not filing their annual return filing, then they're not able to, generate the certificate. Okay,
Correct.
that's quite interesting. Okay, moving on. Could you explain the EC for PIBO for misreporting in the quantity of plastic packaging?
So misreporting is a serious offense leading to an increase EPR targets, right? And EC proportionally to the penalty, which can go up to 1 lakh rupees, the fine doubles, quadruples, and even it can get it to 8 times of the for the consecutive default, starting with the EC of double the application fees of your first default.
So, guys, misreporting is the serious offense then. So, what about misreporting of PWP?
In those case, EC is levied for 5,000 rupees per ton for plastic weight misreporting. The penalty increase to each with increases with each subsequent violation. So understand the emphasis, the importance of accurate reporting and the compliance.
Okay. So, Ayush, now we understood what, misreporting for PWP and PBOs. So now what I want to understand is what happens if, PBO and PWP both, submit the false information. In that case, what will happen?
So, Amit, the repercussions are quite severe. Your registration can get cancelled. ECs can be the double amount of your fees imposed. These penalties can scale up to 8 times of the application fees for the third time defaulters. Uh, this is the underscore for the crucial nature of transparency and the honesty in the reporting. So whatever may come, but ensuring your records are being properly maintained and the right side of information is uploaded on the CPCB portal.
So, I mean, as you said earlier, getting registered is the first step towards compliance. So, what is the EC for not getting registered on the CPCB portal?
So the EC in this case is imposed at again 5,000 rupees per ton for plastic produced from either the inception of the unit or on the date of plastic waste management tool notification, which was on March 18, 2016, whichever comes later. In this case, the second violation of the EC can jump up to 10,000 rupees per ton, and for the third violation, it can escalate to 20,000 rupees per ton. Uh, the progressive penalty underscores the importance of the compliance from the get-go. So whenever, if you're someone who's looking into getting into a new venture where EPR compliance is mandatory, please ensure that the audience and everyone who's part of the conversation today to ensure that the reporting is fair and there's no false number is going into the compliance.
So, that's a huge amount, guys. Get registered on the CPCB portal as soon as possible. I just wanted to understand one thing. That's a last question from my side is how is the biodegradation plastic verified?
I mean that's a very great question. Now that Category 4 and Category 5 is also is now also been introduced. So for this verification, the interim test report must be obtained from the Central Institute of Petrochemical Engineering and Technology or from any recognized lab under the Laboratory Recognition Scheme 2020 by the Bureau of Indian Standard or any lab aggregated by National Accreditation Board for Testing and Calibration Laboratory. These entities certify whether the biodegradable plastic is in alignment with Indian Standard 17899 or T2022. So while we have now discussed some of the emerging questions and some of the most asked question about the penalties, we would love to now talk to our audience, understand their point of view, and if they have any question, we'd love to answer them one-on-one and solve their queries. So I request the moderator to either the audience can put their question on the comment box and we'll answer them, or if they can raise their hand and we'll unmute them to answer that and they can ask the questions. So we have a first question, which is how much time does it take for pollution NOC and EPR registration? We heard that there are a lot of corruption in obtaining the certificate. Is that true? While Amit, so your registration usually, so once your application is registered, it can take up to 2 days to 2 to 3 months also to receive the certificate. But once your application is filed, you basically receive your certificate. You basically receive your application number for the EPR, and you can continue with your work. Uh, so I hope I answered your question. But if you are facing any challenges right now with your registration, I'll be happy to get in touch with you in coming days and answer you in detail and help you out there with your compliance. So Amit, have another question. So one of the co-producer made a application to EPR registration in Jaipur. He's getting phone call mentioned the application fees from RPCB to pay under the table so much to okay for approval. This is suitable if no EPR a scam. Okay, so I think this is very unfair, and there is a system. In fact, if you go to the CPCB website right now, there is a notice that has been issued that there are fake calls, there's scam that's been happening where people are calling and asking for money. But please ensure there's you none of you can or need to pay certain amount under the table or on the portal. There's a specific government fees applicable for the registration, which depends upon the number of plastic that you're using, right? Based on your consumption. So we will, Amit, I'll be happy to get in touch with you and ensure that this is and help you with your registration. So the next question is separate registration required for importer and local material? So if you're importing, yes, you need to have a separate registration for importing as well. So let's say if one person is producing and importing, it is important to have two separate registration. I hope I answered that question. We have another question from Mr. Naveen Kumar. He says, my organization having different location manufacturing facility, but single GST and PAN. Is it required different certificate location from different location, or single EPR certificate is enough? No, I think Naveen. So if it is working on the same umbrella, same brand name, you need not have different EPR registration. So how it works is, if you've got more than 1 or 2 units of PAN in there, then your application gets registered with CPCB. If you've got only 1 unit, then your application gets registered with State Pollution Control Board. But there's no need of having multiple EPR certificates or multiple EPR registration. So we have another question from Ms. Hemangi. She says, we've received our certificate. We are importer of additives packaging in plastic pails. Uh, what to know about as the next steps. So, Himangaji, I think we are also in touch. So, as the next steps, once you're now that you have your registration in place while your certificate is awaited, uh, the next steps for you is to now fulfill your EPR targets by recycling as per the targets availed in the certificate, and then do annual return filing. So targets for credit compliance is 31st March, and annual return filing is by end of July. So Himangaji, I'll definitely will definitely connect after the webinar and shortly, and happy to guide you for on this. So we have another question which says, so we totally export our product outside India. We are facing problem with annual return compliance return and already have it in CPCB to cancel our registration. So to answer your question, if you're exporting your products, essentially there's some sort of relaxation in terms of doing your annual return filing. While I'll get in touch with you to understand where exactly you're facing your problem after this webinar, and accordingly guide you forward. But in terms of exporting your products, there's some sort of leniency which is there in terms of doing your annual return filing. I'll get in touch with you and happy to help you over there. So we have got another question. If you're a brand owner and trading with finished products to distributors only, in this case, is our responsibility to collect the uh, wasted plastic from the end consumer? No. So it is not expected from any brand owner, producer, importer, or PIBO, for the matter of fact, to ensure that specific plastic collection. So as per the guidelines of CPCB and EPR, the collection of plastic is supposed to be the category wise and not brand specific. It is supposed to be category specific. So to iterate that, right now, category 1, which is rigid plastic, category 2 flexible plastic, category 3 multi-layer plastic. So if you, as a producer, as an importer or a brand or as a PIBO, if you're currently dealing with, let's say, category 2 plastic, so it is your responsibility to ensure the collection of category 2 plastic is happening and that's being recycled. So and we'll be happy to do that for you. So I'll ensure to get in touch with you and help you with your EPR compliances. So Mr. Naveen had another question, which is continuation to his previous question. If the registration is dual, how do I cancel my second EPR certificate? Uh, if the registration is dual in this case, I mean, I if maybe if we, is it okay if we can probably unmute you and probably I can answer your question, because I just need to understand few more aspects of your business. Vinji.
Yeah, I'm audible, sir.
Yeah, you are audible.
Actually, we are the battery manufacturers.
Okay.
Already, we contacted Recycle for some other application. With
Okay.
the touch with your one of colleague. Actually, now concern is before to I join here, there was a registration happened. After
Right.
that, one again reached second registration taken for the second unit. How
Okay.
to we cancelled in this regarding? We sent several mails to CPCB on EPR portal, EPR email ID, but still no response. And not not received any response from them.
So I think so probably there's a delay right now because the portal itself was down for last 3 to 4 weeks. The portal is expected to go up and live by 1st of March, and hoping that there'll be a response soon from CPCB. Um, and still, if there are any issues, we'll be happy to help you and talk to CPCB along with you and guide you in this guide you for solving your problem.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Naveen ji.
Thank you.
Uh, Moving on to the next question from Mr. Parvinder Singh, we import machines and other parts. Sometimes these are wrapped in plastic. In this case, do we have to register as importer? Yes. Parvinder ji, basically, as per the compliance rules, whatever plastic as an importer you're bringing into the in the country, you're supposed to recycle that plastic. So while if you see there's some sort of there's some sort of relaxation for brand owners where those micro and small side brand owners are exempted for the registration, but in case of importers, all size importers as per MSME rules are supposed to be EPR compliant. In fact, if you're importing and exporting, it is necessary for you to have an EPR application. Otherwise, then you might face some issues in terms of in customs and their challenge, because now every time you trade, you'll have to give your EPR certificate number. I hope Parvinder ji answered your question. So what about domestic waste generation, bucket, Coke bottles, chips, wrappers? Uh, is this waste our responsibility or responsibility of the product manufacturer? So in this case, Parvinder ji, so each and every producer, importer, brand owner is responsible for their plastic footprint and the plastic consumption. So for example, if I'm talking about, let's say, a brand A, which sells soft drink, so they are also doing their bit of EPR recycling and compliance. So all these brand individually, they are doing their compliances.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Parminder here.
Hi, Parvinder
Regarding
ji.
the imported parts coming wrapped in plastic, there was a notification that we remember latest from CPCB, in which clearly they had mentioned that brand owners who import and there is wrapped in plastic, wrapping plastic will not be considered as responsibility of the brand owner. There was a notification from CPCB.
Okay. So in this case, Parvinder ji, understand that two things. One, which is pre-consumer plastic and post-consumer plastic. So when you're saying that you're getting these products from foreign market and selling it, are you selling it under your own brand name, or you're selling it to then further businesses to
No,
take
we
it
are not
forward?
selling anything. We just import machines of spare parts which come wrapped up. That's all.
Okay, so this becomes your pre-consumer plastic, which you're using it for yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're not sending it to anyone. In this case, you'll have to the EPR compliance is mandatory in this case, but I'll be happy to get in touch with you after this webinar with a detailed action plan that how we can
But sir,
support.
there has been a notification from CPCB where they've clearly said plastic used only for wrapping for your personal consumption will not be considered as your responsibility. You don't, brand owners don't have to go for the import license. There is a notification from CPCB. So that is why we are not going for that. I just wanted to get
I
clarification
mean,
if you are aware of it.
Parminder ji, Parminder ji, yes, you're right. The brand owner, if you're not putting it on your brand name, uh, in terms of brand owner, it doesn't require. But there are other terms like, as an importer or as a producer, in fact, it will not require. So for importer, we need to check whether it required as an importer registration. For, as you said correctly, for brand owner, it doesn't require for the wrapping of, plastic wrapping for your machines, what you're doing is.
Sir, I'll just give you an example. I have a imported machinery. I call in for some spare parts. They come wrapped in plastic. I remove the plastic, I throw it into the waste, and I use the spare part in my own machine. In that case, that plastic will not be my obligation, if I am correct.
So, I mean, Parvinder ji, if you have read something on CPCB portal, we have to check. But as per my understanding, we requires registration for that as well. So again, as I'm saying, we will check at our end also, and definitely we'll get back to you.
Yeah, no problem. It has not, they have not
Yeah.
yet made it as a law. Means it's not, it's just a draft notification initially. It's not come in. So we're just waiting for them to open the portal again, and then we'll check up if they've converted the
Yeah.
draft notification into a act or whatever.
It's still a
Amendment.
gadget, Parminderji. I also ensure that I'll probably get a clarity on this and get back to you. Accordingly, we can have a conversation.
Okay. And regarding
Yes.
my second question, now suppose I'm having Coke distributed in my canteen and people are drinking and throwing the bottle. In that case, also, I think I'm not responsible for the Coke
No,
bottles. It's
no, you're not.
Coca-Cola who is responsible.
Yes, you're not responsible. Coca-Cola is responsible for that plastic. And while Coca-Cola is doing EPR compliances, as I said in one of the previous question, each brand owner is responsible for category specific collection, not brand specific collection.
No, it's category. Yeah, agree.
Categories, yes, not brand specific.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So we have another question from Mr. Rajay saying, after PWP registration, any targets similar to PWPs? No. So to answer your question, Ajayji, so while PWP's responsibility is to recycle and not generation of the plastic, there's you don't need to you need to do your annual return filing, but anyways, as the nature of the business itself is recycling, you just need to do your annual return filing. So Mr. Atul Sharma had another question which says, as per the last notification, where the suggestion were called for the improved purposes, the obligation belongs shifted to the manufacturer from 1st of March to 2024. This is still a notification, still not a gadget, so we still have a limited clarification on this. Well, I've made it a note of this with my team. So as soon as we get a clarity on this, we'll be happy to connect and take it forward. So we are trading plastic granules along with producing packaging bags. Do I need a separate registration for trading and producing? First, Atulji, we need to understand the what exactly you're producing, what's the nature of the product, uh, and then accordingly maybe I can guide you. So either if you can probably raise your hand and my team can unmute you and have a conversation. So just a second, I'll try and unmute you from my end.
Understand from his question, is the required registration for producing?
Right. I think so. As I said, we first need to understand the nature of the product. If it's a sheet, if it's a like and the details of the detail of the product, and then probably I'll be able to guide you if it's required for the second registration or not as an importer or a producer. But maybe I can get in touch with you offline and take this conversation forward. So we have another question referring to Mr. Prameet's question. Does it mean that if any manufacturer or producer whoever is importing any good or machinery which comes wrapped in the plastic, everyone has to get registered. So, Himangi, so in case if you're using the plastic and you're not selling this product anywhere, it's for your in-house consumption. Uh, you might get exempted from the compliance in terms of registration. But if you're producing these plastics, then you're supposed to recycle that amount of plastic.
Basant Kumar raised the hand.
So, request the moderating team if you can unmute Mr. Basant Kumar. I'd be happy to uh, answer his query.
Basantji, you can ask your question.
I think there's some technical glitch. Maybe Basanji, we can get in touch offline, and I'll be happy to answer your query and take it forward from there. Mr. Yogesh Alhat have a question. Is it mandatory to upload each and every invoice on the portal related to the plastic use, as we have huge invoices? So Yogesh, ultimately, so when you upload your invoices, so for example, if you're selling your product to, let's say, 25 parties, so there need to be an Excel that needs to be maintained with the entry of each and every invoice. But one invoice needs to be uploaded as a supporting. So now let's say I've got 5 invoices from one particular company, so one invoice and 5 other entries. So that is how the portal works. So one invoice and rest can be entries. You need not upload all invoices over there.
All vendors should be there.
So if there are any other questions, we'll be happy to answer them. And if there are any questions that we couldn't answer, we'll be happy to get in touch offline and have a one-on-one discussion. While also we have reached towards the end of our conversation and also ending up the time limit. Would want to thank Amit for joining us today, and everyone those who took time out of their busy schedule for attending this webinar. We understood the complications and the details of ECs, and then had some interesting conversation with the attendees. So thank you so much again for joining us today, and we'll get in touch with you offline if you have any other queries. Happy to help and take it forward from there.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you, everyone, for joining this webinar. Thank you.